Each position in the social order has its own quirks. For instance, alphas frequently display clown behavior, whereas deltas frequently tell dreadful jokes. Similar to this, sigmas have their own quirks that some people find strange or unfathomable. We'll explain these peculiarities in this video. We'll examine 14 bizarre behaviors among sigma men. You'll probably recognize some of these habits if you're a sigma yourself or if you personally know one. He might leave his position suddenly. Male sigmas make excellent employees. Because of their superior intelligence and tenacious work ethic, sigmas are advantageous to the team. Additionally, the majority of sigmas have a creative streak that makes them effective problem solvers. So many companies depend on their sigma staff, elevating them to positions of authority. Unfortunately, a sigma can be untrustworthy because he dislikes routine work settings. He might pack up his belongings and abruptly leave his employment if he reaches his breaking point. A sigma frequently quits without even telling anyone. He simply disappears and ceases showing up for work. Of course, everybody wonders where he went, and often, many months later, they find out that he started his own company. Many small business owners are, in fact, sigma males. He likes looking people in the eyes. The sigma man enjoys making eye contact with individuals, even total strangers, and is unafraid of conflict. Even though he may only be strolling down the street, he never fails to meet everyone's eyes. However, he is not acting violently, rather, he is merely taking in his surroundings. They don't even notice him looking because most people avoid eye contact. Sometimes an alpha interprets eye contact as a challenge, but the sigma quickly diffuses the situation with a simple head nod. Keep in mind that an alpha values respect much, thus a simple acknowledgement of his position typically calms him down. He won't say anything and is unconcerned. The social structure is irrelevant to sigma. For this reason, sigma just grunts or keeps quiet while everyone else around him starts chit-chatting. The sigma simply stays silent when a gathering of people is talking about anything he deems uninteresting, such as the weather or a pointless aspect of someone's life. Some individuals find awkward silences to be uncomfortable, but sigma has no such issues. He doesn't give a damn whether you find him odd. People can mistake his stillness for a form of shyness or social anxiety. They assume that speaking in groups makes him feel anxious. But of course, this is false. Sigmas cannot feel social anxiety because they don't care what people think. His silence just means that he finds the conversation boring. He likely writes in a journal. The unexamined existence, according to Socrates, is not worth living. Since sigmas study both their own selves and the world around them, most sigmas would concur. Because of this, I believe that most sigmas maintain some form of a journal. Young children writing about their social lives come to mind when we think of maintaining a journal or diary. A sigma, however, utilizes journals to reflect on his deeds and how they affect the world. I believe that a lot of sigmas keep notebooks to record their objectives and evaluate their accomplishments and failures. But far from writing petty journal entries, his journal resembles the work of a natural scientist who analyzes cause and effect relationships. I also suspect that many sigmas stash their journals in a safe place so that nobody finds years of detailed notes documenting their secrets. When individuals change plans, he is happy. An extrovert enjoys social events, so when his friends change their plans, he is dissatisfied and depressed. Extroverts, like alpha men, need social interaction to refuel. They feel re-energized following a night of drinking and talking. They take a cancellation hard. The sigma, on the other hand, generally detests social gatherings, but he usually goes out of obligation. Therefore, the sigma rejoices and enjoys his night alone if his pals unexpectedly cancel their plans. He was only being courteous, he didn't want to attend the social gathering. He prefers to study books or engage in creative activities. He may be direct. People typically worry about offending or hurting others during conversations. Sigmas, though, don't give a damn about how you feel. A sigma doesn't lie or exaggerate himself, but he will occasionally call someone out on it if he is around someone who does. Other people who observe the meeting are uneasy because they are shocked by the forthright confrontation. A sigma might simply call you out on it by stating something like, "Stop talking garbage," if he discovers you are lying. Until someone switches the subject, the room will go silent. The sigma is unfazed by conflict, therefore none of this disturbs him. And if a sigma really dislikes somebody, normally a gamma male, he tells that person to leave. He'll say something like, "I don't want to be around this guy anymore. Get him out of here." He uses headphones to avoid talking to people. As creative individuals, sigmas frequently have a passion for music. Legendary musicians like Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, and Jimmy Page were all prominent Sigmas. Therefore, you might think a Sigma is listening to music if you see him with earbuds on. But it's not always the case. See, Sigmas have discovered that earphones are a great tool for avoiding one of their most despised activities. Obviously, I'm referring to small talk. A Sigma sometimes uses earphones to avoid small talk. When he wears earphones, people think that he's listening to music, so they don't talk to him. He avoids social interaction. You may find it strange, but a Sigma could be walking around with earphones on but no music playing. He enjoys isolation. As creative individuals, Sigmas frequently have a passion for music. Legendary musicians like Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, and Jimmy Page were all prominent Sigmas. Therefore, you might think a Sigma is listening to music if you see him with earbuds on. But it's not always the case. See, Sigmas have discovered that earbuds are a great tool for avoiding one of their most despised hobbies. Obviously, I'm referring to a small conversation. He observes people closely. It's a common adage that Sigmas don't care about social standing, and this is quite accurate. Strangely enough, though, Sigmas are incredibly fascinated by people and like seeing them in their natural environments. People watching is another name for this tendency. A Sigma generally keeps a careful eye on everyone around him, which might be unsettling to some people. He will probably observe how everyone behaves, for instance, if he is at a dinner party. He'll pick up on nuances that others would pass by. He isn't condemning them and he isn't worried about or terrified of them. Instead, Sigmas are perceptive and like to observe how others respond to various circumstances. Also, Sigmas remember everything. If he's watching you, you can be sure that he'll remember your words and actions. So, be on your best behavior around Sigmas. They don't forget. He ignores phone calls. Unless it's an emergency or a business deal, Sigmas often avoid phone calls, even calls from close family and friends. Sometimes, this avoidance causes tension because many people enjoy spending hours talking on the phone. They catch up with one another and chat about their lives. But, as you can imagine, the Sigma dislikes sitting on the phone for hours and discussing the trivial details of daily life. He's not being mean-spirited, he doesn't hate the caller. He just hates talking unless there's something important to say. That being said, Sigmas enjoy deep conversations. If he's passionate about the topic, a Sigma could talk on the phone for ages. It's theoretically possible. But in general, even with family and close friends, he'll avoid phone calls. And normally his inner circle has learned that lesson. They have learned to send emails or texts instead of picking up the phone. He'll ignore you if he sees you in public. If you're in public and you recognize somebody you know, such as a neighbor or coworker, what's your reaction? Most people would spend a few minutes chatting. But when a Sigma's in public and he sees somebody he knows, often he pretends not to recognize them. Instead, he plays dumb and goes about his business, and you can probably guess the reason why. He doesn't feel like spending 5 minutes making small talk and playing catch-up. He leaves parties without telling anyone. If a Sigma goes to a party or a large gathering, when it comes time to leave, often he won't go to each individual person to bid them farewell. In fact, if a Sigma attends a large gathering, at one point he might just vanish. Suddenly, people start to wonder where he went. He may not have even said goodbye to the host. He often just slips away quietly into the shadows, and no one has any idea that he has left the party. Normally they only realize an hour or two later. He sneaks up on people. Sigma males have a weird way of sneaking up on you. Normally, if somebody walks up to you and shakes your hand while smiling, that person is probably not a Sigma male. Sigmas enjoy the element of surprise, and they're experts at sneaking up on people. If a Sigma wants to get your attention, he waits until the right moment. And then he sneaks up behind you and takes you unawares. Some people find this startling. They may even find it creepy or weird. But Sigmas are charismatic, so they can normally pull it off. Plus, they find your look of surprise funny. He goes out alone. If you see a man sitting all alone at a restaurant, you might think that he is a loner who has no friends. But if the man's a Sigma, you'd be wrong. A Sigma has enough friends and he receives all sorts of invitations, but often he consciously chooses to go out alone. He's the kind of guy who could go to a restaurant and enjoy a meal all by himself, or he could go to a bar and have a few drinks while watching the crowd. A Sigma could go to a nightclub and dance without knowing anybody there. He could even travel the world alone. In fact, he might even prefer traveling alone. Because a Sigma is comfortable in his own skin, and enjoys his own company. Spending time alone doesn't bother him one bit. Hopefully, this article sheds some light on these peculiar Sigma behaviors. He's not crazy and he's not creepy, he's just a Sigma male with some odd behaviors. So, next time somebody sneaks up on you, or next time you lock eyes with a random man on the street, now you know that you might be dealing with a Sigma.